Kinder has got to be one of the most distinctive Doctor Who stories of the early 1980s. It's full of memorable imagery that has stayed in my head since childhood. I remember being particularly scared of the snake tattoos that move from one person to another, and to this day I've never had a tattoo myself. Mainly because needles really hurt, but it's possible my lingering memories of Kinder may have contributed. I'm not sure if I understood all of it back then, and I still don't, to be honest, but it's clearly a remarkable piece of work. This is a big story for Tegan. For once she gets something to do, other than complain about not being a teeth roll. The scenes in her mind where she is seduced by the evil Mara are like something out of a music video, with surreal figures popping up against a black background. Jeff Stewart as Ducker is evil personified, menacing and seductive in equal measure. And Janet Fielding really shows her range, as Tegan is broken down psychologically, and after being possessed by the Mara, she gets to be all sexy and seductive herself. Sadly, this only lasts a couple of scenes. If they made it nowadays, she would probably remain the main villain right until the end. But in that scenario, the Kinder wouldn't really be involved, so maybe it wouldn't work so well. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Adric are caught up in the dispute between the natives and the colonists, while Nyssa and Tegan are both asleep. There seems to be a deliberate Victorian era feel to the colonists, with their pith helmets and jungle gear. Sanders comes across as a typical British Army officer, blustering about rules, mistreating the natives, while Hindle starts as he's put up on deputy, but soon has a complete mental breakdown. Simon Rouse is utterly terrifying here. He plays it completely straight, like he's in a hard-hitting, gritty drama about mental illness, which makes him much scarier than any of the usual bad guys hammering it up trying to take over the world. Richard Todd as Sanders is also impressive. At the start it seems like he's going to be the main antagonist, but halfway through the character does a complete 180 and becomes much more likeable. And both aspects are played extremely well. Neris Hughes as Todd is the other member of the group, but for most of the story he's basically the Doctor's companion. She has a great chemistry with Peter Davison, and he seems to enjoy having someone intelligent to talk to. It would have been really interesting if she'd become a companion. Sadly, we never got a companion older than the Doctor until Bradley Walsh came along. Meanwhile, Adric seems to side with Hindle. It's possible the audience is meant to think of this as an obvious ploy, but Adric has genuinely sided with the villains on several occasions now, so it just seems like he's doing it again. If anything, the fact that he was only kidding this time is a good twist. The Kinder of the title are a largely peaceful tribe. Being telepathic, they are mostly silent. But veteran actor Mary Morris gives a fine performance as Panna, the Wise Woman. She sends the Doctor and Todd on a bizarre dream sequence with even more surreal music video imagery that seems to symbolise everything's about to come to a head shortly before it does. The finale, where the Mara is trapped by a circle of giant mirrors, is rather embarrassing to watch today, as they've clearly used a big inflatable snake, which is not at all convincing. Watching it as a child, I don't remember having any problems with it, but it does fit into the whole artificial environment, where the whole planet is clearly filmed on brightly lit studio sets. You do have to suspend your disbelief to make it work, so it's unlikely to be repeated nowadays. But that's a shame. The script is deep and complex, the guest actors are all outstanding, and the regulars are much better than usual, so it's definitely one of my favourites. The DVD, part of the Mara Tales box set, has more than an hour of extras. For the first time this season, there's a proper documentary, Dreamtime, where the writer and all three script editors talk about their battle to bring the story to life. Several of the actors talk about their time working on it, and everybody slags off the inflatable snake. There's a feature on Peter Grimwade, taking you through his life and career, mostly about all the Doctor Who stories that he worked on. Mark Strickson presents, which is a bit of a spoiler as he hasn't appeared yet. There's 14 minutes of deleted scenes, mainly just the odd few lines cut here and there. But there's some interesting stuff in there which would definitely have benefited the show had they been added back in. And there's also the option to watch the ending with the Mara replaced by a CGI snake, which is slightly more convincing, but still not that great. Overall, it's an excellent script with some great performances, slightly let down by the production, but still one of the standout stories of the era. I'll give it 9. Next week, it's The Visitation, the first trip to the past we've had in quite some time. So press subscribe to see what I think of that, and I'll see you next time.